Hi, and welcome to Anne's Family Recipe. Today I'm celebrating Christmas in July. I'm sharing two incredible recipes with you. First, my juicy Christmas dinner inspired turkey burgers, and then for dessert we're having eggnog ice cream. Today's video is a collaboration with my new friend, Kandice Martinez. I was so excited when she invited me to do a Christmas in July collaboration. Kandice is a wife and mom to 3 little kids. She loves to cook, and she created her channel pretty recently in an effort to encourage others to get into the kitchen too. She has these great compilation videos on her channel that include a lot of recipes at one time to give you lots of ideas to get started in the kitchen. She also has grocery haul videos and a little bit of her family life too. For all of this delicious content, make sure you subscribe to her channel. So after you finish watching this video, make sure you click on Kandice's link, which I'm going to leave in my description box below, to check out her French silk pie popsicles. For my Christmas dinner inspired turkey burgers, I started with a little over a pound of fresh ground turkey, and then to this I added 1 egg and seasoned it with a little bit of salt and pepper. Next, I added in about half a teaspoon of garlic powder and half a teaspoon of dried rosemary. And I like to crush this between my fingers because it breaks it into smaller pieces and also releases the flavor or the oils in the dried rosemary. So it has this really great Christmassy flavor. I started to mix this by hand, and it felt like the egg wasn't going to be quite enough to bind it all together, so I ended up adding just about a tablespoon of seasoned breadcrumbs. You can use whatever kind you have on hand, seasoned or unseasoned, but this just gave a little more structure to the turkey mixture for my burgers. While I formed the burger patties, I preheated a large nonstick skillet over medium heat and added about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Then I put the patties in to cook. If the meat is a little bit too sticky to work with, you can always put a little water onto your fingertips and that will help. I cooked these for a couple minutes until they were golden brown on the first side, and then flipped them over, pressed them down, and allowed them to cook through completely. With any kind of poultry, like chicken burgers or turkey burgers, you want them to be totally well done, cooked through completely. So the internal temperature when they're finished should be at least 165 degrees. For the toppings, I sliced up some Brie cheese, which my husband and I love, and I opened up a can of jellied cranberry sauce and sliced that into about 1/4 inch rounds. I personally do not mind the rind on Brie cheese, but it can be a little bit bitter, so feel free to slice that off as you're cutting this into pieces. You can make them as thin or as thick as you want and put as much cheese as you want on your burgers. When mine were finished, I actually wished I had put a little bit more on, and so I did before I ate it. This Christmas dinner turkey burger was actually my husband's idea, and specifically he was inspired by this jellied cranberry sauce. He thought me slicing it like this and placing it on top of the burger would mimic a slice of fresh tomato perfectly, and it worked out so beautifully. It tasted delicious and it looked perfect. To melt the cheese, I waited till the burgers were basically finished cooking through because the cheese melts so fast. I popped a couple slices on most of the burgers, not all because my kids didn't want the Brie cheese. And then I reduced the heat to low, covered it with a lid, and allowed the residual heat to melt the cheese. I wanted my burger buns to mimic stuffing, but I didn't want to actually make stuffing and put it on the burger, but I also didn't want to make stuffing flavored bread from scratch. So I bought some potato buns and I mixed half a stick of softened unsalted butter with what ended up being 3/4 of a teaspoon of poultry seasoning and 3/4 of a teaspoon of onion powder, and also a pinch of salt. I stirred that all together and then I tasted it, and I think I added a little extra salt too. That's totally to taste, but it just kind of brings out the other flavors too. And I spread this all over the inside of these golden potato hamburger buns. I popped these underneath the broiler on high just for a minute or two. They cook very, very quickly, so do not take your eyes off of them. But they got nice and toasty and had this incredible stuffing flavor. These were probably my favorite component. To assemble the burgers, I started with one of my toasty buns, a Brie topped burger, a slice of the jellied cranberry sauce, and then some mixed greens just for that festive green color along with my red cranberry and a little bit of crunch. And then I topped it off with the lid of my burger bun. These were phenomenal. They had all of these nostalgic Christmas flavors that my family loved, and they were very, very juicy too. For dessert, I'm making a no churn eggnog ice cream. No churn ice creams are one of my favorite dessert formulas. They're so easy, you can flavor them any way you want, and you don't need an ice cream maker. I started with a pint of heavy cream, and that's always gonna be your base for any kind of no churn ice cream you make, and then you just flavor it up. So I added a teaspoon of vanilla extract, a teaspoon of rum extract, half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and half a teaspoon of ground nutmeg. And then I beat that together with my electric hand mixer until it was stiff. Next, I added a 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk. I carefully folded that in, but I made sure it was totally incorporated. And then I poured that mixture into a loaf pan. I covered the surface directly with plastic wrap and then put this in the freezer for several hours until it was ready to eat. After several hours, the ice cream was frozen solid, but it's not too hard to scoop. It's still nice and creamy. So I served some up with some whipped cream and a sprinkling of nutmeg as a garnish. We loved this so, so much. I created this recipe all by myself. I love making different no churn flavors. I'll link to some of the other ones I've made down below. This was one of my family's favorites. It was very creamy. It had all the flavors of eggnog without actually needing the ingredient of eggnog, which you can't find this time of year, and it totally reminded me of Christmas. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up if you liked my Christmas in July recipes. Thank you so much for joining me here in my kitchen, and I'll see you again soon with more family recipes.